Hey, Peter.
Hey.
Can you give us a little solo piano?
I guess.
Something basic. Call that basic?
Basic solo piano, baby.
I'm Adam Ennis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Daily music advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, we're talking about solo piano basics, and we're talking about it sponsored by Open Studio. Go to OpenStudioJazz.com, where you can check out Jeffrey Keyser's new solo piano course, Elements of Solo Piano. Interesting that we're doing a solo piano episode today, and also sponsored by Elements of...
What's that voice? Is that your solo piano voice?
Oh, it's my little...
Solo pianos can be a little pretentious. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Oh, for sure.
Is that what you're alluding to with that voice?
Because we feel like we can do anything we want. We can be the entire band. We have all the power.
We don't feel that way. We can.
We get drunk with power.
If not drunk on Granddad.
Yeah, if not actually drunk.
That's the ultimate level, when you can get actually drunk and be drunk on power and play everything.
I feel like there were some live at Mailback Hall solo piano, but never mind. Anyway, today we wanted to talk about just some basic things, actually, that not even pianists could do, but any musician. You can sit down at a keyboard or a piano and be able to figure out some simple solo piano arrangements of your favorite standards with some of these techniques. It's not as hard as it needs to be. Like you don't have to go full keys, full Jeffrey Keyser on every solo piano arrangement. There are some basic things that if you focus on, you're going to be a solid solo player. Like, I don't know about you, Peter, but when I learned this improvised music, I started off learning a technique that was more based on what I would play with a bass player, right?
Yeah,
I started playing in bands.
I think that's typical.
I think it is too. So it actually took me several years to feel comfortable as a solo pianist. And even I still am not as confident when I have a solo piano gig as I am on a trio gig, for instance. Like, it still is something I really have to work on in order to feel confident and comfortable in, because you do feel like the onus is on you to make it everything, you know.
Well, it is. I mean, there's nobody else there. But I think that it's like any combination of players or lack of combination, solo. You talk about solo, duo, trio, and then beyond. It has its own set of challenges and rewards that come with that. I don't think any situation. I mean, look, playing trio is no walk in the park either.
No,
but it's all in kind of how you look at it. Because some people it's so hard to play with a great bass player and a great drummer because their time is so good, their swing is so good. They care. If they have any problem, it's that they care too much. You know,
their biggest fault
is they swing too hard.
That's right.
No, but I think that if you think about it, yeah, that is hard. But then on the other hand, it's the easiest thing in the world.
Right.
If you get the mindset of like, let me ride that wave. Let me not worry about am I as good as them. Let me just realize. Let me concentrate on the fact that I have the opportunity to really concentrate and to let them elevate me to another level. And so with solo piano, like, none of that's part of the equation because there's nobody to pull you down and there's nobody to elevate you. Because when you talk about trio, it's like, what's worse than a horrible bass player and drummer you have to play with? What do we usually end up doing?
Yeah, I mean...
Tell them to sit out.
Yeah, that's
right. And then we're back to solo anyway.
Just go solo, yeah.
Exactly. So I think the big challenge with solo... one of them is actually, so I was doing just a couple days ago some duo performances with guitar with the great Homero Lubumbo.
Yeah.
And I realized like some of the same challenges with playing solo are actually there when you play duo, basically when you play without a bass player.
Right.
You know, and you realize what a foundational great thing the bass is. But we can bring the spirit of that bass with us when we play solo.
Yep.
And I think that, you know, a common entry point is, as you say, like you're playing with trio, you're playing with big band, whatever, and then all of a sudden, bam, you have to play solo. But that's a great entry point. I mean, a lot of pianists have done that. The way to sort of leapfrog over that uncomfortable period is to not feel like you have to duplicate everything to the bass player and drummer that aren't there.
Right.
That's the first thing. You got to get that in your mind.
Yeah.
But if you can hear all those things, then you're going to be in a good position. But don't feel like you have to, like if your confidence and your feeling of the groove and the form and all those things are just like the bass player and drummer were there, but all of a sudden you erased them.
Yeah.
And only you could hear what was going on.
Right.
Then, and if you play with that kind of a spirit,
Right.
then it's going to come across great, even if you don't have an advanced left hand or independence in the hands, because that's where it really gets interesting, when you have an advanced understanding and implementation of hand independence. And that doesn't come over. There's no way to have that come overnight.
Yeah, there's no saxophone players that are sitting down on the keyboard with great hand independence just yet. But that, what you're talking about, leads to my number one here thing on the list of that I made of some topics we could talk about. And that is, I think, probably the most important element of playing solo piano and sounding good and confident is having that sense of groove, that sense of time that is similar to when you have a rhythm section.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to hear the rhythm section in your head, even if you're not playing everything that they would be playing. You have to keep it like it's still swinging. And you hear too often, a solo pianist at like a cocktail party or something like that, where the time is just friggin' all over the place, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, it's just not happening. It doesn't feel great. And when you hear a solo pianist like yourself or Jeffrey Keyser or a number of amazing, Kenny Barron comes to mind as one of the great solo pianists ever.
Got a chance to hang out with Kenny Barron.
Oh,
Sorry,
amazing.
you dropped the name first though. What an amazing.
I mean,
player,
I'm not
an amazing
hanging with him, I'm just
person.
listening to
No,
him.
man, I was nervous because at the duo gig he was sitting in the audience.
Woo.
Yeah, that was woo.
But talk about like an amazing groove and
Yep.
sense of time when he's playing solo. You don't really miss the bass player. And that's what a bass player's role is in the trio, is because they're usually playing that two feel or that walking bass line, they're
Yeah.
providing such a strong presence for the time. You really have to have that going in your mind at all time. Now, the first way to apply that to your practice, if you want to become a decent solo pianist, is you have to work on your two feel. You
Yes.
just have to. There's no getting around that if you want to play in a swing or straight ahead manner. Like, you have to just sit there. I mean, I still practice that on the regular, that kind of, even that basic, because I really want that feel to be
Basic. I heard you.
Oh boy.
Come
I really
on,
want
Dad.
that.
Come on, Daddy.
I really want that feel to be locked in, and I want to have that to pull out of my hat. Then, I mean, then you start talking about hand dependence and working on that, but it all springs from
Yeah.
being able to lock in a simple two feel with the left hand.
Yes, and no matter what we're playing from, and look, you make it sound easy and you say simple.
Well,
but
I mean,
to
I
get
don't.
to get to that, it takes work, and it takes commitment. But what happens is sometimes people think because they can play more notes, they skip over that, or they have a little bit of hand independence from playing classical music. They're like, oh, I can do some other things, but they don't have that foundational sense of groove, which is so important to be able to have that advanced confidence when you're playing solo piano,
Yep.
And so you can't skip. I mean, you can skip over that, but then you got to go back, and it's like a really inefficient way to build up your solo piano chops. So you have to think about, you have to make a commitment to not playing more than you can stay within the groove and time, and the two feel is the perfect place to develop that. And it's left hand alone, and then it's after many courses of this.
Yep.
And look, if you don't enjoy doing this, find something else to do. Is that harsh? Sorry.
No, but it's true.
But you have to. I mean, 5 courses, just 5 courses.
This is the fundamentals right here.
Yeah.
We put the fun into mentals.
But then after you've done 5 courses, this maybe just a little bit,
A little comping with the right hand.
but
This is another solo piano characteristic that you might not have practiced enough, which is
No.
comping with your right hand. You got to be able to do that,
yeah,
just like you're saying.
that's the beginning of the hand independence, really.
And eventually you're going to be able to play melodies with your right hand and comp.
And you're gonna be able to play duos. Yeah,
Like
exactly.
have a little finger independence,
Little
little
3-zone
hand
vibe.
independence.
But that has to be built up. And
sure.
like, this is as much of an exercise in getting you confident and stuck within this very simple groove.
Yeah.
But don't play it simplistically.
Yeah.
Like, play it with an advanced sense of groove and feel.
That's right. So our next step here in developing a good...
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just add one thing?
Please. No, please.
This is something I remember I used to do as a little bit of a challenge. I would practice this kind of thing, and then you're thinking about placement, because this is about as much. whether it's a melody or but you just have one thing happening. And if you do like one thing that's a little bit off rhythmically, like you're not in the groove and you hear that, then you lose that chorus. So say you're going to do 5 choruses in a row and you get to the third chorus and you do one thing, then you get bounced back to 2. So you don't get to 5. They have to be 5 perfect choruses.
Man, I love it.
Is that dogmatic?
No, it's just
drop down and give me 5 choruses right now, son.
It's just dogmatic enough. So the next thing that we're going to build on here is
Southerners are very dogmatic. You ever notice? I'm from the South, so I can say that, right?
You are,
Yeah.
But and they are, and you are. But one thing that we can build on from this is now like a solid foundation of rooted voicings. This was something that I was definitely lacking.
Where's this idea rooted in?
What's that?
Where's this idea rooted in?
Oh, buddy,
okay, sorry,
buddy. It's rooted in the truth, because you need these to be able to play some solo piano. And we talk about this one concept a lot, and for good reason, and that's root and shell, or root and shell pretty. And because it gets us everywhere we need to go. I can stick
just
with
like
my
the
two
good
feel with just root and shell in my left hand,
Yeah.
And that frees me up to do like whatever I want to do in my right hand. I have that whole bass line and harmony covered. Thank you for continuing on. Woo! I have everything covered with that root and shell. And then if I want to add pretty notes with the rest of my right hand, now we're talking about real finger, real hand independence, middle hand ideas, which is not basic, but it springs from the root and shell concept.
Yep. I love it. And then the thing too we want to stress is like, we're building these elements and these skills up. This might be a month of each of these, or it might be a week depending on your practice time, but like you talk about the groove, the feel, the two feel, and then the simple comping, then the root shell pretty.
Yep.
Like we're not just working on those and abandoning this is additive.
That's right. And by root shell, we mean the root in this case of F7. Stumbled there for a minute. F7, we mean the 3rd and the 7th, or the 7th and the 3rd.
Yep.
E flat and A in some combination. That's what we mean by root shell. And by pretty, we usually mean things like the 9th, the 11th, the 13th, the 5th, all that stuff.
By pretty, we mean me.
Okay, the next concept we want to talk about, we have now some voicings. We have a 2-feel. Hopefully our groove and time is being worked on. I think what really sets good solo pianists apart from great solo pianists is the use of dynamics, because nothing is worse than hearing.
That's bad.
Than just bare paws down of.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing is worse than that.
No, nothing is not nothing.
Pasta that's dente as opposed to al dente, that's worse.
You know what I'm saying?
I hate
Just
that.
there's no dynamics. There's nothing. Like if you again go
That's
back
solo
to
piano dente instead of play solo piano al dente.
Keezer has this thing where he talks about 3 kinds of dynamics. The melody is the loudest. The bass line is second loudest.
Yeah. Come on, Keys.
And then the comping that you're doing with the left hand or the middle hand is the sort of mist in the air.
Yeah. Well, I almost missed that, but I'm glad you pointed that out.
But you just kind of feel it, that comping. You don't have to like really do super thick chords all the time. I think.
Well, the
it's really
thing
important.
is, because it's in a very strong part of the piano, so you need to diminish the volume anyway. It's in that normally you're talking about that comping. You got multiple notes being played. You're playing them like jabbing at them with staccato and accents anyway. So you've got to compensate because naturally they're going to stick out. So you have to use that balance. You got to use your ears though. People think like playing with dynamics and being able to adjust your hands and hand and finger independence is a physical thing. And there's an aspect to that. But the more and more I learn about this instrument, and I mean the piano, not just the
Hammer 88.
The Hammer 88s, but I mean it's so much based upon listening in real time.
For sure.
Active listening. It's like the whole thing. I mean, it's just like, and I really make parallels with, the more I learn about running and stuff, it's like, it is not about the muscle. It's about your mindset.
Yeah.
It's about your mind and like, can you do this or not? Of course, your body, just like with the piano, you have physical limitations. You can't will yourself to reach a 12th or anything. But using your ears, which I would say is the kind of the equivalent and is certainly connected with using your mind, is such an important part of this because the mechanics of this, you can work on an individual basis and everything. But if you do all that, but you can't hear it and you're not used to listening and concentrating and meditating on what that balance is, it's going to all be for naught, as they used to say.
So you're saying number 1,
Practice. Oh, sorry. Listen. Remember when we did that course? Like number one, practice.
Yeah. Well, but you can practice this idea by listening, even with that basic two feel. Like if you play just a melody, you know. Trying to bring out the melody as opposed to that two feel bass line.
Yeah.
You can make one a little louder than the other. That's the easiest way to practice this. 2 notes at a time. It's not that hard. You know, you can practice that for hours and you will see such amazing results
if you concentrate and like really listen. Sure. And like I noticed, I don't know if they caught it on the camera because we are on the YouTube's. Big shout out to YouTube. Keep on Googling, keep on searching. Oh. Come on now. You get a certain look, a little bit of a transfixed look when you're kind of concentrating, even on a simple thing like what you just played.
I look like an idiot.
Well, no, but it's not about. But you know what?
Thinking so hard.
But that's what. But it's a concentrated. It's not a thinking like a formula. It's a listening. That's your listening look.
It is my listening face.
And this is like something that is so important. Yeah, we're demonstrating here, we're having fun or whatever, but it's like once we play this thing, we want this stuff to sound right, and that's as much a personal commitment to what you're hearing and putting yourself as a listener as much as you are a player.
Yeah.
And it really starts with the practice because we're going to spend 95% of our time at the keyboard practicing alone, and if we're lucky, maybe 5% performing for other people. That's just the reality of being a musician.
That's how it should be. That's a great ratio, actually.
Yeah.
All right, the last element of this that I think we're going to suggest is to compose a solo piano arrangement. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to write out every note of it, but for this course, for Elements of Solo Piano, Keyser's course, Jeffrey has this amazing arrangement of The Nearness of You in 3/2, like a big 3, and it's super funky. And he obviously has.
Is this the one that's on the YouTubes now?
It's the one that's on the YouTube. Andrew, give a link here in the description to this incredible performance. And we have it all transcribed. You can check it out on the SoundSlice.
And if you see on the Elements of Solo Piano course at the bottom that we have a guarantee for everyone who bits the course, they will be able to play The Nearness of You. No. Oh, I thought that was what.
No.
Okay, sorry.
But it is good advice.
You'll learn from the person.
You'll learn from Keyser's performance of this, and you'll kind of come to understand he has this arrangement worked out. I have a few solo piano arrangements on the You'll Hear It blog. One of All the Things You Are, of Green Dolphin Street, of Someday My Prince Will Come, and even of Autumn Leaves, that were just really practice devices for me to expand what I could do on solo piano. I didn't even write them out at first. I just worked some stuff out that I wanted to do. Yeah. And then I made that head part of my arrangement when I perform the song. That kind of thing, though, once you do that, those elements start showing up in other tunes you're doing. You're kind of like teaching yourself how to make an arrangement on the fly by coming up with an arrangement that you repeat over and over again.
It's kind of like a framework or a system for playing that. It's not about the style or about how much do I use my left hand, how much do I use right. It's really a system for navigating this wonderful instrument and being able to exploit it in a way for the music, for how it sounds to you, and then build upon that.
Absolutely.
And although you're right, we cannot guarantee you're going to be able to play The Nearness of You to the level of Jeff Keyser. We are legally not allowed to guarantee that as part of this course, but we cannot guarantee that you won't be able to either, right?
That is a triple negative.
No, we cannot guarantee.
Cannot not guarantee that you won't be able to not play like Keyser.
Exactly. YMMV. That's all I got to say about that.
Man. Nobody knows what that means, Pete.
Hashtag YMMV.
Okay.
What? No, but leave us a rating and review because, you don't have to pay us for this. This is a public service. No problem. But if you want to give back a little bit, if you want your karma to be right, if you want the next time you get on an airplane to be confident to know that your karma isn't off and that plane's going to go down in a fire. Sorry.
Here we go.
Is that too far?
Here we go.
Too much? Too soon? Okay.
A little too
no,
soon.
Anyway, if you want some good karma in your life, leave us a rating review. Notice we don't say leave us a 5-star. Leave us whatever you want. Actually, leave us a 7-star.
Leave us a 7-star rating and review?
We're getting back on that, man. Right. People used to do it. But we did have a fun comment, and we're reading all of the ratings and review, and we're reading all of the reviews. If you leave us a review, even if it's horrible, we'll do it. But we had a fun one that was Peter and Adam. I regret the loss of Podcave, which with its Batman reference captured so well the whimsical coolness of your show. I have no love for the Pod Suite.
Come on.
Which sounds like a software solution. That's true. It does.
It does kind of sound like a software solution.
Yeah. Come on, Andrew. Your show rules. Do it from the Pod Palace.
I mean,
that sounds slightly pretentious. Cheers, David in Ottawa, Canada. Man, I love Ottawa. That is one of my favorite.
People are funny up there.
It's such a cool city. Yeah, it's very funny. They talk funny too, which is really fun.
Okay.
Funny. But I'm from the South. Do you know where I'm from? You don't even know. We'll talk about that on another episode.
You're from Florida.
Florida, but Central Florida, which
Florida.
is very different. Like Southern Florida is very hip and like
That's
Hispanic.
You know where I'm from? I'm from Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Dude, we joke about it's country where you're from. If you saw the little town I'm from, you'd be like, wow.
Are we
really?
gonna-
The train tracks
Are
go
we gonna,
right through?
Are we going to gatekeep our countryness here on the podcast? Because
Let's
I'm
just
down.
say that the town I was born in is featured in the movie about Jackie Robinson.
Not
You know,
in a positive light.
Not in a positive light. Predates me though. Anyway, until tomorrow.
You'll hear it.